What's up, you guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. So as you can tell by the title, we have some more information from a Hasbro interview from last month over at MCM London Comic-Con that was conducted with TF Wiki community and Evan over at Hasbro and I think some other people, but the answers I'm covering in this video are from Evan. So we have 3 bullet points to get into with some extremely juicy and crazy information here, so put your seatbelts on. It's about to get pretty hectic here. So let's get right down to it. This first bullet point here says, yes, Evan knows about the concept art Megatron jet from that one episode where he takes all the Decepticons' power chip rectifiers. And yeah, man, this would be absolutely amazing. Imagine if we get the SS-86 Megatron mold retooled into this version of the character. That just seems like something waiting to happen, like a Blur to DevCon level of retooling. That would be amazing. I think it would be more likely than ever for Hasbro to do something like that with this Megatron design and character, because, I mean, we've seen so many retools that either share engineering or take different parts or take a lot of parts but still make it something completely different to the point where, yo, that was black magic, Hasbro and Takara we're working on here. And I could see them doing that. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point down the line in the next few years or something, we see like an exclusives release or a Gen Selects release of this version of G1 Megatron retooled from the new 86 liter class mold. And I would be all over that. That would be so fire to see. And it really opens the door for a lot of other concept art characters and G1 characters that maybe didn't make the cutting room floor, like I think his name was Rails, that one character that was cut from the 86 movie, and there's probably some other 86 movie or some other G1 concept art stuff that never made it past that stage of production that could get a figure that I'm just not thinking of, but this could open the door for a lot of stuff if this ever does release. Next bullet point here says they're aware of a desire for Nightbeat, but didn't realize the design overlap with Energon Hot Shot. In similar nature, there was dawning recognition when it was also pointed out that Energon Megatron's deco and maybe alt mode at a glance took significant inspiration from the Pretender Thunderwing. Evan remarked that most people who ask about Energon tend to focus on Optimus Prime and his accessories. Okay, this is a mouthful of crazy and amazing information all at the same time here. So there's 3 different things to talk about. Let's talk about the Nightbeat and Energon Hot Shot potential retool down the line. This is actually pretty genius because this would be referencing a couple things here. There was, I believe, a FunPub or BotCon exclusive Nightbeat figure that was repainted and retooled from the Energon Hot Shot mold. So you would not only be referencing that version and that release of those characters, but also you would be doing a new G1 Nightbeat, obviously a new Energon Hot Shot. There's just a lot of overlapping and history going on here that they would be doing modern updates of and referencing here. So bring that the hell on. I don't even think Evan remembers or knows about that, or maybe he just didn't think about it for this answer here. That Nightbeat was used for that Energon Hot Shot mold back in the day, and I could just see it now. I mean, with how Energon is kind of perceived over at Hasbro, it seems like they're not too amazed by that series looking back on it. And part of that is because of some neckbeards in the fandom that act like the show is the worst thing ever. When, I mean, if you really watch Unicron Trilogy as a whole, it's basically on par in terms of the dialogue and the story with everything else in the Unicron Trilogy. Frankly, all 3 shows aren't the greatest. It's just that the designs, the characters, and some of the story beats are interesting to watch. That's really all it is. But, yeah, I mean, because of all that, I could see Hasbro doing Nightbeat first in the main line, and then either the Hot Shot version of the mold comes out as like an exclusive release or a Gen Selects release, or even in the main line itself a few waves or like a year or 2 later, because we have seen that before in the last couple years, those 3 options happening with characters. One of those examples was Shadow Striker and Sideburn a couple years ago. And there's a few other examples I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head. So I can see them doing that, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened. Maybe Hot Shot does come first and Nightbeat is the exclusive or the mainline release that comes later on, a year or two after the Hot Shot release. Who knows? But this is really exciting. And I'm surprised they didn't mention this any sooner because, it's not like it's some well-known factoid in Transformers, but with Nightbeat and Hot Shot here sharing some history and some similarities in design, it's not something that is like impossible to find out. So it's kind of interesting that they're just now connecting the dots here as to how we could get a new Energon Hot Shot while also getting a G1 Nightbeat out at the same time, killing two birds with one stone. And now the Energon Megatron thing, even crazier than the Hot Shot answer here, if you could believe it. So what looks to be happening here is, or he's alluding to or thinking of it, or he's like hinting at it and putting it out there to see if people would like this to be the case. Now, what I think could happen here is we get Thunderwing first as a Commander class release in, let's say, maybe 2027 or 2028 at the earliest. And then as like a Gen Selects release or as an exclusive figure or in the main line. Who knows? There's three different options here basically as to how they could do this. We get the Energon Megatron as one of those three type of releases. I can see that happening 1000%, man. And I never even thought of this. Like Thunderwing and Energon Megatron, they do share a lot of similarities in color and design even. So I could see Hasbro jumping on this. You know, people usually draw connections between Galvatron and Energon Megatron, which, you know, for obvious reasons, that's basically the main inspiration. But maybe there was some Thunderwing inspiration back in 03 when they were designing him, and we just never knew about it until Evan sort of made that unique comparison and connection here. So bring this on, man. This would be absolutely amazing. And it's another two birds with one stone situation here. We've been asking for, like, the fandom has been super vocal for the last 15 or so years about getting a new Thunderwing that's a bit more involved and way bigger than that deluxe figure from 2010. And, you know, the fandom does have fond interest in seeing a new Energon Megatron updated. He's one of the more beloved Megatron designs in the franchise, I'd say. And, you know, out of a lot of the Energon and Unicron trilogy updates people want, I see Energon Megatron as one of the more frequent ones. So it would just make a whole lot of sense to get these two out and they share either engineering, their retools of one another, or they just share certain parts. I could definitely see some of these scenarios happening, and he's probably hinting at this truly happening here with Megatron and Hot Shot. And speaking of Energon and Unicron trilogy characters, you see the fandom asking for Hasbro to make the most Energon Optimus, he mentions here, saying that people ask about him a lot to get made, him and his accessories, and it makes sense. It's an Optimus Prime. It's one of the more infamous or famous designs, depending on how you look at it in the community, so it makes sense. I think they're never going to pass up on redoing a new Optimus figure, so I definitely think one day we're going to be getting him as a small Titan class release like Star Convoy. I recently watched a review on that Star Convoy. If they could release a hollow figure like that at $150, they could do a freaking Energon Optimus Prime with a big-ass trailer and 4 drones that need to turn into arms and legs and possibly even a robot mode for modern times. And he needs to come with his sword, his gun, and whatever other features, the flip-out laser matrix and stuff like that. He is a very involved character, and people try and act like Hasbro can do him at Commander class nowadays. Hell no, they cannot achieve all of that in an $100 figure. As crazy as it seems, considering the original was a $40 leader class, but we're not living in 2004 anymore. Just face it, guys. This guy would have to be a small Star Convoy level Titan to get made correctly. And the last bullet point I want to cover here is, if they do more Pretenders, they'll follow the example of Micronus Prime and the Apex armor. So it seems like what they're kind of talking about here is like that was sort of the testing ground for getting Pretenders in this style, or they figured out a way to do this, and they were like, oh, we could just do it the way how we made Micronus Prime, and that makes sense because it does share a lot of design traits with how they made Micronus Prime. So I would really like to see this get made in a bigger scale, seeing this type of gimmick and play factor and engineering with like Voyager or Leader class Pretender figures. I mean, I just want to see some of these Pretenders get made in the modern era. It's absolutely pathetic that Hasbro is taking this long on trying to figure out how to do something as simple as a Pretender in the year 2025. We have all this technology, all this experience with Transformers designers and engineers, but you're telling me you can't do something that you did 40 years ago, just a bit more modernized and complex with added transformation and articulation a little bit here? I mean, come on. It's kind of odd how they've been handling Pretenders, but I get it. It is kind of a tricky thing with the shell and everything like that, and budgets nowadays, and will a Pretender sell at Voyager or Leader class? There's all that sort of stuff Hasbro worries about, which I do get to a degree, but it's just like, man, come on, hurry up and do these Pretenders. It's not something that is impossible to do, so it's kind of just shocking that we haven't gotten more faithful Pretender updates the last few years. But this is an exciting update, so hopefully they finally figured it out here with Micronus Prime and they can move forward. We could actually get some Voyager and Leader class G1 Pretenders in the next few years. But yeah, guys, that about does it for all the pieces of information I wanted to cover here in this Hasbro interview. Let me know down below, what do y'all think about all the answers Evan gave here? A lot of crazy stuff he's alluding to for the future and releases. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye!